to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be going over my TBR books I want to read in this year. So I've got a couple here, and some I'm going to get from the library, some I have on digital. But yeah, just going to show you what I want to get into in the next year. There will be a theme that emerges. You'll see it pretty quickly. Okay, so the first book is The Odyssey. I mean, technically the Odyssey is not a book, it's a poem. Or sorry, it's a poem as opposed to a novel. I don't have the Iliad, but if I like this, I will probably get. I don't know what happened there, but I mean, I don't know what there is to say about the Odyssey. I've not read it, but obviously it stands the test of time. It's very old, 3,000 years, I think. Yeah, 3,000 years ago it says on the copy there. And obviously I'm getting this because of the Christopher Nolan film that's going to be coming out later this year, so I just want to be ahead of the game and read this so I can know what the film is going to be like. Another film adaptation of a book that's coming out this year is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This is actually the copy that I read in secondary school. You can see, maybe you can't see it, but there should be like an annotation here. I mean, there is one, I've written it in there, but I mightn't be able to see it. But yeah, we had to read this book in secondary school, and I kind of know the main like outline of what happens, but I don't remember reading much of anything in detail. I remember the overall plot and how it goes, but I would like to come back to this one with fresh eyes, especially now that I've kind of gotten a lot more experience with kind of media literacy, media criticism, because I've done a TV and media degree, and I think that the things I've learned in that may be applicable to books as well. So I'd just like to come back to it with a more critical eye and just see how I feel about it, a couple of years later. So that's that one. And then another classic, 1984 by George Orwell. So for our final year dissertation, final year project in the course I just mentioned, TV and media production, we had to do a final year project, and one of my friends he wrote a story, he wrote a novel, and one of the books that he used for like inspiration for himself was this book, 1984. So and I've not read it, so it's really just to read it to see what's in here and see if I like it or not. It's about a dystopian future where like a lot of things are censored, and a lot of I suppose even your thoughts are controlled by the government. There's like thought police and such like that. I can't speak to it too in depth because I've not read it, but I've heard it's very good, and I like George Orwell. I've read Down and Out in Bars in London, and I really enjoyed that by him. And there's going to be another George Orwell book coming later in this video it's on my TBR. Okay, keeping it going, I have A Nasty Little War by Anna Reid. So this book is about World War I, but specifically about Western countries' intervention in the Russian Civil War. So Britain, French, American and Japanese troops have been sent into the Russian Civil War on the side of the whites, who are the monarchists, or were the monarchists, as opposed to the side of the reds, who were the communists. Or wait, was that the Civil War? Maybe they came after. I've read a book about this, talked about in previous videos. It's the big, huge, thick Stalin book. It doesn't matter either way. This book talks about it. Well, no, yeah, of course it was the Reds. Who else would it be? Because the Civil War was after the communists took power. I'm thinking of the February Revolution and then the November Revolution or the October Revolution, where the communists actually took power, and the one where versus versus the one where the what's his name, Tsar Peter Alexander, the guy who was really shit and was forced to abdicate by his own supporters, really. The guy who was Tsar in Russia in 1917, when he had to abdicate, was a different time than when the communists came to power. That's what I'm getting confused with there. And obviously, the Civil War involves the communists. But yeah, this is just kind of continuing on with that, like reading thing I've been reading about. It's just like kind of communism worldwide, just to get an idea of, I suppose, the history of the movement and the ideology, and just have a better understanding of it and the world as a consequence. And obviously, learning about the country it very famously was very successful in for a long time is probably a good place to start, especially at the start of the start. So yeah, that's why I'm going there. I just keep wiping all the dust off them like that. And then this is a copy of Dracula by Bram Stoker. I picked this up like 20 minutes before I was going to go in to see Nosferatu, and that's why I'm kind of less certain on this one, because reading the back cover of it, you can see how Nosferatu is like literally just this story about what if the guy was in Germany instead of London, and it kind of comes close to like plagiarism. I mean, like, obviously there's more in the book than there is in the film. Like there's more detail about everything, but yeah, I don't know. This is the one I'm least keen on, simply because after having watched Nosferatu, I don't know if there's anything, how much new stuff could be in this book, you know. I mean, I'll try and read it, but I want to get around to it, but I'm not certain it'll happen, and I'm okay if it doesn't happen. I have another 2 physical copies of books here that I want to read. So the first is Aesthetics, an introduction to the philosophy of art, and this is by Anne Shafford, by the way. So the reason I wanted to get this is there's an Instagram account I follow called The Culture Dumper, or The Culture _Dumper. But anyway, she has a PhD in art history, and she has a series where she does kind of like book recommendations for different periods and different themes and such, and this was one of the ones that was mentioned, and it's a collection of essays on the point of art and specifically the aesthetics of it and what we get out of that and what it means about us, and what that kind of implies about what we want out of art versus what we don't want out of art, and what we get out of it versus what we don't get out of it on a visual kind of level. So yeah, this is something that's very interesting to me, is like kind of dissecting the point of art and why we love it so much and why it has such a strong place in our society. And then Wordsworth Classics edition of The Three Musketeers. I really like these Wordsworth editions. They're quite cheap and they're paperback, so it's very, very handy to have around. Like, it's very easy to travel with them, like to carry them, because there's no hardback like weighing you down. But they're also very easy to, it passes the flop test. But yeah, I really like, what I like about them is they're light, they're easy to carry, they're cheap, and they have cool design. There's effort put into this. So the reason I picked up The Three Musketeers, that it's written by Alexandre Dumas. And I've read this before when I was younger. There was like copies of like small hardback copies of books that came with a newspaper. I think it may be the Irish Independent or whatever. But I specifically asked my parents to like buy these newspapers so I could get the books to read them. And one of them was The Three Musketeers, Les Trois Mousquetaires. I think that's how you say it in French anyway, but I don't know. But yeah, I read it and I really enjoyed it then, and I have read another I am reading another Alexander Dumas book, which I'll talk about in another section of the video. But basically, I got some of the way through that book, and I loved it so much. I was like, I'm gonna go and get more books by him. And I was out one day, and I was like, I'll pick this up, and I picked another Wordsworth Classics edition, Les Miserables, Volume 1 by Victor Hugo. So Wordsworth Classics have made Les Miserables into 2 volumes. This is the first, obviously, and I have the second as well. I'll just show it to you. Volumes 1 and 2, maybe. So I've got both of them right there. Again, these were very cheap. That's what I like about these editions. There's effort put into the covers. I like that. Yeah. So I just kind of I read the one Alexander Dumas book, not even all of it, like a little bit of it, and I was like, I love this so much. I need to get more French authors and more Alexander Dumas. So that's exactly what I did. I think I'm at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Technically 9, but I count that as one book. Like Les Miserables is one book. Okay, now I wanted the digital. Okay, so one book I want to read on digital, like ebook format, is Edward Said's Orientalism. The reason why I want to read this is I feel it's very relevant academic work, and I just like to kind of read these kind of harder things, kind of challenge myself, keep my brain at least, trying to figure out what these themes and the meanings in these, like, I suppose, not higher level works, but more academic and more thought-provoking kind of works. And Orientalism is, it's not a novel, but it's like a non-fiction work. Maybe it's a collection of essays. I'm not entirely sure, but I heard it's fairly well regarded, so I just thought I would read it, and I just hear a lot of praise for Edward Said. Okay, so I mentioned that I was going to read another George Orwell book, or I wanted to, and that one is A Homage to Catalonia, and that book talks about his experience during the Spanish Civil War. And the reason I want to pick up that one specifically is because I have this book. It's The Battle for Spain, the Spanish Civil War 1936 to 1939 by Anthony Beevor. So obviously they tie in, as Homage to Catalonia is about Orwell's experience during the Spanish Civil War, and this is a non-fiction book that's all about the Spanish Civil War. So I just think it makes sense, they go together. This one will obviously give me a more overall view of the conflict, a top-down kind of view, and then I'm hoping that George Orwell's book will give me a personal look into what it was like to be there, and just another element and dimension to the conflict that I think would be important. And I wish I could do that for a lot more kind of conflicts and wars and stuff like that. It's like read someone's personal account of having been there, as well as a non-fiction book, because I feel non-fiction unfortunately kind of tends to have like a distance between the subject and the reader, like even unintentionally, and that it can be hard to kind of really fully understand the scale of what's been done to these people, like the atrocities that have been committed. And I just feel like this personal account of it will help get that across like stronger. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I don't know if Homage to Catalonia will be on an ebook or if it'll be physical. I'm going to get it from the library. And another book that I would like to get from the library, because I know they've got it, is a copy of James Clavell's Shogun. I'll put a picture up there, or wherever it'll fit. But really, another, as I was saying, with the theme of these, like a lot of these books is TV and movie adaptations, and this one's got a very well critically acclaimed TV adaptation. It's won so many awards. I've seen people talking about it non-stop about how great it is, and yeah, the FOMO got to me. I want in on the bandwagon, but I want to read the book as well as watch the show. I I don't want to put. I want to read the book and then watch the show. I think is the order I'm going to go in. Um, I think season 2 is coming out sometime this year, so perfect time to jump into it while it's hot, while it's a hot commodity. And then there's another section that I want to have, which is like books that I'm coming back to that I started like say a year or 2 years ago, and I want to finish in this year. So the first book in this returning to series is this copy of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but specifically this copy is my one that I've taken everywhere. You can kind of see that it's been through wars a little bit. It's the edges are frayed and the paper's a bit. It's definitely not new anyway, but yes. So there's another running theme here. Is this book got a film adaptation that came out in November, and the point of me reading this was to read the book before the film adaptation. I got to like 90 pages and then I stopped. So not a very effective method that I've been applying here. It's not been working out too well for me, but I want to come back to it this year because I know what I've read of it I really enjoyed, and again the film's getting lots of good praise, good reviews, and I want to be able to watch it knowing what's in and what's out and what I think should be in and should be out. Okay, so that other Alexandre Dumas book I've been talking about that made me want to buy the Three Musketeers the second I seen it. Yeah, it's the Count of Monte Cristo. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about it, but I actually genuinely love that you can tell it's a serialized story that's been collectivized into one big yolk. Because originally he published this in like weekly installments in a newspaper, so like a chapter is a week, like what would be published in a week. And I think it's so far I'm only like 124 pages in, and I'm literally starting chapter 18, the treasure. So that's where my bookmark is, chapter 18, the treasure, and so far I really like it. Obviously if I went out and immediately bought another Alexandre Dumas book that I've not read, it's just so good. It feels so real. The characters are feeling. They feel like I know them, in a way. Like his characterization is so strong, and his ability to put the reader in the time period and the place is so good. I love it. And I know I'm not. There's hardly anything new to say about this book, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it. Just say I just enjoy it. Another Wordsworth classics. So yeah, I like this series. Granddaddy of all return to books to return to, is this absolutely massive hardback copy of War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. What's the page count on this? I looked at it once. So, there's a couple of notes in the back of the book. The last page has a count on it, which is the last notes page is 1,350. Note, and it is headed notes to pages 1,284 to 1,316. So, yeah. Epilogue Part 2 ends on page 1,308, and I'm on page 60. That's my bookmark there. Page 61, chapter 15. I just finished reading about the bear, but I think I put this down 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. It was a while ago, and I haven't picked it up since. Oh yeah, Count of Monte Cristo, I started this 6 months ago, so July, June. This is about 60 pages in, and again, like the Count of Monte Cristo, like Alexandre Dumas, I really enjoy Tolstoy's ability to vividly conjure like the place our characters as they're doing things, and the world that they're living in and inhabiting. I think he's really strong at that, and yeah, I'm eager to get more into it. Now, there's a very pedantic reason for like the picking this Oxford's classics version. Okay, so obviously I think the cover looks quite cool, but if I was to get it again, I wouldn't get it in hardback simply because I know reading a book of this thickness with a hardback out like this, is gonna hurt your wrist. So that was something I would change. But the reason why I got this, like I was specific about getting this translation, is that some of it is in French. Now I know you may be wondering, why is that relevant? Oh yeah, so look here. I don't know if that's good from camera, but basically the first letter up here, it's the letter that they get in the ballroom, the palace. It tells them that Napoleon has gone to war with Russia. Or no, he's going to war with somewhere. Oh, I think he's taken over Genoa and Lucca, and they don't like this very much because it's obviously like an expansionist move, and it's written. This letter up here is written in French. I just don't know if it's coming up on camera. I won't see it until I'm editing this, but the first paragraph is in French. The reason why I think that's important is because the Russian nobles spoke French, whereas if this was another translation, this French would just be English, and I don't know if that would come across as well, because obviously the book is about war, Napoleonic War, where Napoleon, a French man, goes to war with Russia, and the nobles are speaking French. Like I feel the subtext there is obvious, but I just don't know if that would come across as well in a version where that's not translated into French. Oh yeah, thanks for watching, and I don't think about this today. I think I put all the books I wanted to read this year. I think I put in a few extras that I didn't think I was thinking on reading, but they're in there anyway. So yeah, I'll see you in the next video, whenever that comes out.